butterflies. Joan grew on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and she received her BA in social work from the University of Wisconsin and an AS degree in ornamental horticulture from Foothill College in Los Altos Hills, California. Using her horticulture skills, Joan managed the greenhouse for ecology, evolution, and marine biology at UCSB, and taught garden design classes through the Santa Barbara City Center for Lifelong Learning. Her passion for monarch butterflies and a burning desire to educate both children and adults about the wonders of nature inspired her to write a beautiful book called Airplanes in the Garden, Monarch Butterflies Take Flight. Welcome today, Joan, and we're looking forward to hearing you tell us about the monarchs and to seeing them ourselves, hopefully, as the season come around. Joan,
well, thank
you're
you.
on. Take it away.
Thank you so very much. This is a wonderful opportunity to join you for your monthly meeting. And the question I've been asked is, will the monarch butterflies fly again? And to do this, I will tell you something about the latest findings of the account and some of the causes, and then followed by positive activities from the government, from farmers, and from you, okay? So first I want to tell you a little story. Since I wrote the book on monarchs, schools have asked me to come and give talks to the grade school. And one day I got a call in 2012 from Mrs. Rose. It's a made up name because I want to hide the embarrassment. But Mrs. Rose asked me if I could come and talk to her children. And she was so excited because the nurseryman, Carl at the nursery told her if she put this plant in, she would get lots of butterflies. So the day I arrived was just a beautiful day at the school. It was sunny, it was spring, the flowers smelled great, and it was just a wonderful feeling, kind of like the day we had a few days ago. It was a perfect day. Well, Mrs. Rose was so excited. She had a big smile on her face, and I wish you could have seen her as we walked down, actually hurried down to the arbor where this plant was supposed to be. When we got halfway down, she stopped, her smile disappeared, and she said, Joan, Carl told me I would have lots of butterflies for the kids, but all I get are these horrible worms, and I have to keep killing because otherwise there won't be a plant left for them when the butterflies come.
Here.
Now, most of you, I think, can find this a little strange, right? So Mrs. Rose did not understand how butterflies reproduce. She did not understand the life cycle and how important it is for everyone trying to help the monarchs. They need to know every single part of the life cycle. It's not like Papa Bear is this big and Mama Bear is this big and Baby Bear is a little smaller. There are no baby butterflies. So that's why it's important to know the whole story. And I'm going to try to share my screen pretty soon. I've got to do something first. 1 second here. I got to find the other PowerPoint. It's funny, no matter what, there's always a problem. Here we go. And I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Okay, so do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Looks great.
Do you only see my screen?
Only your screen.
Only my screen.
Only
Okay.
the whole slideshow, yeah.
Okay, now it's working. Now it's working. Okay. All right.
Yay.
All right. Let's see what happens. Okay. Well, you must recognize all the life stages of the monarch butterfly, and all butterflies have complete metamorphosis. How do I see myself too big here?
You should be able to minimize that. Hide thumbnail view.
I'm sorry, where is that? Hide.
It's like it's a little tiny icon. It's just a little line going horizontally.
Okay, well, I can manage somehow. Okay, so complete metamorphosis is a change in body form with 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. The entire process takes about 28 days.
28 days.
Notice the ridges on the egg. It looks like a football kind of shape, but it has ridges. The caterpillar stage is about 2 weeks. During this time, it grows a new skin underneath the outer skin. Then, when it is ready, it sheds the old skin, and the newer, larger skin underneath is exposed. This process is called molting. Have you ever seen a butterfly, a caterpillar change its skin? It literally walks out of its skin. It puts its feet down and it walks, the head drops off and it just walks out with a new head and new clothes. Sometimes I wish we could do that.
True.
The final molt attaches itself upside down in the shape of a J, and it becomes a chrysalis. 2 more weeks and it emerges as a monarch. A monarch lives about 2 weeks. I put up the monarch and the black swallowtail just so you could see the difference. Because if you want to have black swallowtails or another butterfly, it's really important to know what the life cycle is. The black swallowtail, the egg is round. The larva, the caterpillar, is a different color, and the chrysalis especially is totally different. And sometimes people think it looks like bird poop, and it attaches itself by a string, by a silk thread, to a twig or some other place, so it can be incognito. My sister grows dill, and that is the host plant for the black swallowtail. She grows dill because they want to make cucumbers out of their, they want to make pickles out of their cucumbers. And she had no idea what all these worms were in her jar until I told her, and now she actually enjoys watching the caterpillars on her dill. Now this is all the stages. Isn't this strange?
Joan, did I hear you say it comes out with a new head as well?
It comes out with a new head as well.
My
Right,
goodness.
right. And I sent a handout, and on the handout, I think she can post it somewhere, but there's 2 videos on YouTube that you can watch the entire process. One is by the National Geographic, and one is some other entity, but it is amazing to watch the entire process. You can see the egg hatching all the way to the butterflies. Now, this is important to all farmers and people helping the monarchs, understanding what the caterpillar stage needs and the butterfly stage. They both want full sun because the mama butterfly will not lay the eggs in the shade because she knows her baby needs warmth, and it has to be milkweed for a monarch. The caterpillar has little mandibles that it chews with its leaves. They wander, they need a safe place, and then the caterpillars molt. But sometimes you have a plant and all of a sudden you have no more caterpillars and you think, oh, where did they go? Well, they're hiding and they're probably changing their clothes. Now the butterfly stage is totally different because it needs blossoms and it needs a landing path to actually sit on a blossom. So there are some blossoms are better than others. And they drink nectar with their proboscis. When you watch a video, watch the mouth of the butterfly because the proboscis actually, when it comes out, it is in two pieces and it has to go twirling up and down, curling up and going down until it sticks together and it makes it into like a straw. They also like to play in mud or wet sand. They want trees for shelter because they like to sleep at night. And of course, then they mate and lay eggs. So the eggs are 4 days. The caterpillars are 2 weeks. The chrysalis is 8 to 10 days. The adult butterflies are live 2 to 6 weeks. But the ones that migrate to Mexico live actually 9 months. They are not sexually mature, but they need all the energy to take that long trip. Now, the best host plant for us here in California is narrow-leaf milkweed. Now, this picture has a zebra butterfly on the left side because milkweed is also a nectar plant. So they can land on there and they can enjoy the nectar. So they don't have to, it doesn't have to be only a monarch. But the monarchs are the ones who are going to be eating the milkweed. The one on the left that I mentioned, it was a zebra longwing, and it's frequently found in Florida. The map on the left shows a monarch migration. The blue lines show a route from Canada to Mexico. So we're talking about the eastern monarchs now. The red line shows the trip from Mexico to Canada. The map on the right shows the flyway. All the states in yellow are the flyway. They start out in Canada and they go all the way to Mexico. The migration takes 5 generations. So the ones, let's say in Canada, they start migrating and fly towards Chicago. They meet other monarchs on the way and join an amazing trip to Mexico. They get on the jet stream, which helps them along the way, and they stop to sip nectar to sustain their bodies. The monarchs, which make the trip, are not sexually mature, but they live longer than the other ones. They do not mate on the way until they get to past Mexico. They hang on trees over the winter, even with snow. Many do not survive. When it warms, they start their trip back. Let's say in February, they start back. They may fly to Texas where they mate. They lay their eggs and the parents die. The eggs hatch and become butterflies. The new butterflies continue on a more 1,000-mile trip and mate, let's say in Arkansas or Virginia. The parents die and the next generation goes on to Chicago, the East Coast, and again to Canada. So you see the ones that started out in Canada no longer exist. But it is the 5th generation that made its way back. And then the process starts all the way again. Now, west of the Rockies, the monarchs go to Pismo Beach, Natural Bridges, Pacific Grove, and others, and including Goleta. Then when it warms up, they go back to the Rockies. The monarch count, butterfly counts, are in November. Have any of you done butterfly counts? In January, they count the ones that have overwintered and survived. In the late 1990s, more than 1 million monarchs were counted in the January overwintering population in California. The Xerces Society manages the largest pollinator conservation program in the world. The Xerces Society is named after the first butterfly to go extinct, the Xerces blue, and that's spelled Xerces. It's a wonderful society. Robert Michael Pyle founded the Xerces Society, and I'll talk about him a little later. Xerces is a science-based nonprofit organization that protects wildlife through the conservation of invertebrates and other habitats. On January 19, 2021, that was last week, the Xerces Society announced that only 1,914 monarch butterflies were recorded overwintering on the California coast this year. I was appalled. There were more in November because that's when the butterflies just arrived, and some left that could not be counted and others did not survive. So this is a 99.9% decline since the 1980s. And Pismo Beach and Natural Bridges reported only a few hundred monarchs during the count. Pacific Grove had no monarchs at all. And Goleta reported less than double digits. The primary drivers of the decline are loss of overwintering, breeding, and migratory habitat in California, and pesticide use. Now let's get back to what's happening in our own backyard. In Santa Barbara County has been in a serious drought. The eucalyptus trees where the monarchs came to overwintering for many years have dried up. And when a tree is dying, it sends out notices to insects to come and feast, and so they did. The trees died and fell down. It has been a very dangerous area with falling trees. Have many of you been to the Goleta Butterfly Grove in the past?
Yeah.
I'm thinking I see some hands going up. Okay. When I first moved here in 2000, I saw thousands of butterflies. I met people on the trails without binoculars, and I asked them what they saw, and they said not many. When I let them use my binoculars, they were in awe. What they thought were just leaves were thousands of butterflies. The main cause is habitat loss. Humans are taking the habitat. Agriculture got larger. The footprint in urban areas have increased dramatically. Pesticides, mosquito control, agricultural uses. But we can't always point our finger at agriculture. More pesticides are in use in our urban areas. The quest for the perfect lawn or perfect rows means no more pesticide use, means more pesticide use. Climate change and major weather events took their toll, and then came along invasive species. And all of them in tandem are responsible. Now I know in the East Coast this past year for the migration, the weather was cooperating and many more made it to Mexico than possibly the previous years. So monarchs have declined over 8% in the East, but over 99% in the West Coast.
Wow.
Western monarchs may lack the legal protection that would usher in resources to help cover the population, but there are many things that can be done to improve their chances. Unfortunately, we can't control the weather. The Xerces Society, along with other researchers and partners, developed the Western Monarch Call to Action. And here are the 5 key points. The rapid approach aims to complement long-term plans such as the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. And there are many habitat restoration projects in progress right now to enhance and restore monarch breeding and overwintering habitat in California. But many, many more are needed. We can join the Western Monarch Call to Action led by the Xerces Society. Galita is working with the Xerces Society to implement site management, and you can join them. They want to protect and manage California overwintering sites, restore breeding and migratory habitat, protect monarchs from pesticides, and protect breeding, summer breeding and fall migration monarch habitat outside of California. In May of 2015, President Barack Obama unveiled his national strategy to mitigate honeybee loss, increase monarch butterfly population, and restore the habitats of both insects, whose health is essential to our food supply. The program depends heavily on federal agencies and will involve Mexico and Canada, since monarchs don't understand state laws and borders. If you want to learn more about that, you can Google Obama promote pollinator health. The National Wildlife Federation has been working with the state departments of transportation from Texas to Minnesota along Interstate 85 to coordinate the Monarch Highway effort. If you see right through the corridor is the road, Highway I-35. It is in the central flyway of the monarch butterfly migration, offering a prime opportunity for roadside monarch habitat creation and increased education. While not all of the roadsides along the 1,568-mile highway will be converted to pollinator habitat, the Monarch Butterfly Highway will also serve as an important educational tool to raise awareness. And on this map on the right, you'll see where the monarch migration goes to the West Coast. And the Corn Belt falls right into this road from Minnesota down to Texas. And with the Corn Belt, of course, there's issues with the farmers and with GMO and different issues like that too. So what can we do ourselves? We can give pollinators what they need. They need food, shelter, protection from pesticide risk, and habitat disturbance. Remember, in the beginning of the presentation, we talked about what caterpillars require, milkweed, and butterflies require nectar. Many kids and adults have nature deficit too. We can help people see nature in their own backyard by helping build parks and yards with proper flowers. Especially important in towns and cities. Create less impervious spaces with trees and shrubs. Water should sink in the soil, not run in the street.
Right.
It's important to let other people know what you're doing, because then you will too educate them. You can join Pollinator Habitat and put up a sign. There's also Monarch Watch and the Xerces Society that has incredible programs. It's also important to increase habitat helps for all pollinators and biodiversity. Actually, in China, so many pesticides were sprayed in the orchards that the farmers have to hand pollinate the orchard trees because they killed all the bees with their pesticides. Another idea is small gardens. Even pots and plants will be a help. And native grasses, shrubs, and trees and wildflowers can be in the design. The right non-natives are okay. I often hear, oh, plant native, but even the Xerces Society said right natives are okay, and they can help fill in flowering gaps in the garden. fruit trees, lavender, coneflowers, rudbeckia, asters. For butterflies, a blossom with a flat flower is important so they can have a landing space. I have tall zinnias in my yard and they're great. The butterflies love them. So not all plants support pollinators. Double-petaled varieties do not offer any nectar or pollen. Like these marigolds. I often watch when I'm in a nursery, what butterflies are there and what are they landing on? And I ask the nursery people, where do you see the most butterflies or the most hummingbirds? So that's one way of learning. Healthy plants need healthy soils. A healthy soil is a living thing. It is not dead. Not all insects are pests. Tolerate some plant damage. It means insects are using your habitat. Insects are what birds eat. Even hummingbirds consume about half their body weight in bugs and nectar. They feed every 10 to 15 minutes and visit 1,000 to 2,000 flowers throughout the day. In addition to nectar from flowers and feeders, these birds eat small insects, beetles, ants, aphids, gnats, mosquitoes, and wasps. Plants treated at the nursery with systemic insecticides will bring them home with you. Even BT is a natural pesticide, but it is designed to kill caterpillars, including monarchs. And that was one that was always pushed a few years ago until I realized it was killing monarch caterpillars also. Habitats can be everywhere. It helps employees as well as pollinators. It's great to have a place of work where you could go out and sit in a garden and enjoy lunch. More suggestions. Season-long blooms. Early spring has willow, maple, serviceberry, redbud, dandelions, clover. And in the summer, there is monarda, coneflower, milkweed, sunflowers, roses even, and Joe Pye weed. In the fall, goldenrod, asters, mistflower, sunflowers. There's even a native aster. Billy Goodnick, maybe you've taken some classes from him. He always said, leave the leaves, because that's why they're called leaves. You're supposed to let them where they land. And I think of them as excellent mulch. I think of them as mother's milk for the plants. And the other day I had somebody helping me, and the next thing I knew, all the leaves, or most of the leaves, were picked up and put them in a trash can. And I can't leave these people alone for a minute. The Goleta area has been working with the Xerces Society to develop a plant to bring back the monarchs, to develop a plan to bring back the monarchs. It will take many, many years. They require trees to roost during the winter. Elwood was perfect because of the leaves in the winter and the opportunity for water and protection from wind and cold. It wasn't that they were eucalyptus trees. It doesn't matter. They wanted an area, especially in a circular area, that would provide warmth and someplace where they could sip water. Now, agricultural has really taken over a lot of the habitat for the monarchs and for all pollinators. On the roadside planting, you'll see that it was mowed, but it wasn't mowed all the way down. And those are probably milkweed in Wisconsin, because the milkweed in Wisconsin are pink and they're very, very sturdy plants. But some places they just mow the entire area and there's no habitat left. Even an insectary strip, like on the left, can be what monarchs and all pollinators can use. When I was a kid, I grew up in Wisconsin, and we had fences, and under the fences, there were weeds for the pollinators. But now when I see the farm, it's all the fences are gone and it's planted totally with most anything.
Hmm.
Here's a field border. Perhaps there's an area that's not easy to manage with crops. You can always have a field border of pollinators or hedgerows between farms. Almond growers and other fruit growers are starting to plant wildflowers in their orchards. They're also providing native bee boxes. Are any of you familiar with native bees? I'll ask that question when I come back a little later, when I can see your nods of the head or not.
Understory planting. Mhm.
Here's a nice prairie view. Easy to grow nectar plants. This is one of my favorite ones, the Mexican sunflower. It gets about 5 feet tall, and the butterflies love it. It has good landing strip on it, and it's called Tithonia rundifolia. Now I have all these words on the handout that that you should be getting. Of course, daisy and sunflowers. And the other favorite plant I have, the Verbena bonariensis down there. Butterflies love to land on there. It is just a really wonderful one. And of course, lantana, you're always seeing something on that one. Now this is my sister's house, and she had a visitor there one day, and she plants in groups, massive areas, and she has lots of butterflies and bees. And it is just fun to see because there's no lawn, there's very small lawn, and her area is just really fun. She has native echinacea, yellow black-eyed Susans, and butterflies can discover plants in your yard if you plant large areas. If you can imagine that they're flying around and they're looking for something, if they see a big pot, like a 6-foot wide area that they could actually land there and get enough nourishment, they'll more likely choose it than your neighbor's yard. Replace lawn with pollinator habitat. My sister's house, again from Wisconsin, is on the right side. And it's just been a joy to watch her garden in there. And all the neighbors go by and say how wonderful it is, how much they enjoyed it. And my garden is on the left side. A few years ago, I was into echinacea. Now here's something I discovered recently. In 2014, Ink Dwell, an artist, worked in the Sierra Nevada Bighorn Sheep Foundation and with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to create a string of bighorn murals along California Highway 395. It's the Sierra Nevada near Bishop, California.
Wow.
Having the view of the hotel, the motel, having those large murals got everyone excited, and it created a great awareness. And many people didn't even know there were bighorn sheep in that area. So he decided, once he found out about the Xerces Society and the plight of the monarch, to make murals for all over the North America. So this is some of the ones he's got. The White Building is in Winter Park, Florida. Many more are completed. I know there's one in Springdale, Arkansas. And you could just Google Ink Dwell, that's INKDWELL.com, and look for his murals in other places. And I love the picture on the left with the giant monarch wing that the girl is painting. He's got a crew of artists helping him. And I loved it so much, I looked for some more of his paintings. And the butterfly on the right with the poppies is in San Francisco in the Tenderloin district.
Wow.
So what I find wonderful is sitting in my garden, watching the bees and the flowers and the butterflies and the birds, On the left is an area I designed for my house in Santa Barbara quite a few years ago. And that was, I miss that area so much. We call that the Martini bench, the one on the left. And then now I have, you might go past my place and see these two blue chairs up on the top. There's a lot of education out there on the web. You can download free from the Xerces Society a lot of flyers that can give you information on how to plant and what to do. And there are also books by the Xerces Society you can find on the web. Enjoy your space. This is a precious moment. I took a picture of my sister having coffee one morning in her garden. And what a joy that is to be there. So will the monarch butterflies fly again? Robert Michael Pyle, the starter of the Xerces Society, said, only if enough of us care enough. And the picture on here is in my garden, the zinnia with the Verbena bonariensis on it. So I'm going to stop sharing and be back here. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd love Judith and Barbara, if you're there somewhere, to look if there is anybody got your hand up, because I'm going to ask you a question. And I think you mentioned, I wrote this book, Airplanes in the Garden. And I would like to give away one book to the person who can answer this question. I didn't mention the answer at all in my talk. So, you know when butterflies come out of their chrysalis, right? And what is that called? Does anybody know?
Show of hands if you know it, or unmute yourself.
Emergence?
No. I mean, it is called that too, but there's a technical name. I just found out recently. Any more guesses? Nobody's on their Google trying to figure out what it is? It's called, should I tell you?
All right.
It's called eclose. Who knew?
How do you spell that?
E-C-L-O-S-E. They eclose. Even when a caterpillar comes out, it's called eclosing. Eclose. So that's something new. Have any of you learned anything new that you didn't know today? One tiny little bit?
The part about the double petaled flowers, that's a waste of space for the butterflies.
Okay.
It is or isn't an oasis? The double petals?
Double petals is not an oasis. That's not a good thing because they can't get the nectar. You know, like marigolds, they have all these petals so thick. They can't get the nectar. So that's one thing. Now I want to tell you, maybe we'll have a drawing for the book if somebody wants it. I also have it for sale if you're interested. You can send me an email at info@Patio Publishing. It's on the handout if you ever get the handout. But Robert Michael Pyle wrote this book. And if you're looking for a good read, a really good read, this is it. Because I actually met him at a butterfly event, and maybe you did too. He spoke at the Botanical Garden here in Santa Barbara about 2012. And he was actually selling his book. And I met him and I gave him my book, and he actually wrote something very nice on my book. So that was thrilling. But his book is like a mini vacation. It's called Chasing Monarchs, Migrating with the Butterflies of Passage. It's informative, funny, and engrossing story on his year-long journey to follow the monarchs. And as you read it, you will be thinking that you are sitting in his car with him. And you'll be at his campsite with a cup of coffee. it is so amazing. If you like butterflies at all, it's really, really a fun read. So it's called Chasing Monarchs.
Chasing Monarch.
Chasing Monarchs, Migrating with the Butterflies of Passage, and it's Robert Michael Pyle.
P-Y-L-E.
Who was doing it.
P-Y-L-E.
Dog
Um,
keeps
You
jumping.
can find it at, you can ask Chaucer's to order it, or you can go on Amazon to buy it. My book is also at Chaucer's.
Good.
One thing I want to remind you, have any of you seen the movie Flight of the Butterfly?
I have not, but I know that it's been around and was a beautiful film.
It was amazing, and if you saw it in one of those really big theaters, it was great. But you can look on Amazon and you can order it.
Ah,
And you actually, if you find my my handout, you can go to Amazon and on a certain place, and you can see the trailer. So the trailer gets you all excited about this. But it's, if you're having movie night, or you want the kids to see, you know, grandkids or whatever, to see something wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's the story of how the monarch got discovered, of how the migration went. And it was some time ago, and they were trying to figure out how it was. And when they first discovered how to put on an apple a little note, you know, like they put a little sticky on in the grocery store so you know what it is, they figured maybe we can use these to put on the butterfly wings. And that's where tagging started. So they put that on the butterfly wings with numbers. And then they asked people all over, did you ever see these? And somebody was from the United States, and they were visiting in Mexico, near Mexico City. And they found these butterflies, and somebody sent him, he was a Boy Scout or something, and somebody sent him a note about that, and he knew what it was. So that's how they figured out that they went all the way over there.
What's the name of the film?
The name of the film is
Flight of the Butterfly?
Flight of the Butterflies.
Flight of the Butterflies. Okay.
Flight of the Butterflies. And if you go to Amazon.com, Flight of the Butterflies, and if you look a certain way, you might be able to see the trailer, and it is amazing. But it's, you know, I think to buy it, it's like $9, and if you want to rent it or whatever. But it's amazing, amazing movie.
What's the name of your book?
My book is Airplanes in the Garden, Monarch Butterflies Take Flight.
Airplanes in the Garden.
And if we got enough time, I can tell you why I decided to write it. But I was working at UCSB, and I was starting to, well, actually I had a few butterflies there. The gardener told me, don't kill the caterpillars on this plant. They'll become monarch butterflies. And I grew up in Wisconsin, and I never knew what a monarch butterfly was. Where I lived, it was where the woods, and we never seen any. So that was a new thing for me. So anyway, I watched these butterflies, and I'd put, I had to learn fast, because within days I had monarchs, I had caterpillars and chrysalises all over the greenhouse. I had to put signs up, don't step on the monarchs or the caterpillars. And then the plumbers and the electricians would come through to work, and I'd say, have you ever seen a monarch butterfly or this plant? They got all excited, and then I started raising milkweed for them, and they would bring their grandkids in or tell their grandkids about it. So it got to be really big. And then one day I didn't have enough milkweed, so I took 2 home with me on the front seat of my truck, and I talked to them all the way home. And I called them after my 2 students, Stanley and Sergio. And when I got home, I put them on my milkweed, which was way up on the top of my property. And I thought, I know I'll never see you again, because now they're caterpillars, and in a couple of days they won't be findable at all. So I left them there, and I felt really bad. I went down to see my husband. We had a martini, and we toasted them, and I said goodbye. And 3 days later, my husband said, you won't believe this, but look under the table. And here, right outside the dining room, which was quite a hike from where I left them, was Stanley. I'm sure it was Stanley. He was my favorite. he was making a chrysalis. There was a J there.
Ah,
And it was just amazing. And I thought, this is a book. This is a story. So it's kind of like that. And Kathy Quayle was the artist on this. So it's beautiful. Not only that, if you email me, in the book, there is a song by Rebecca Troon. She's a
Starting to get wound
singer-songwriter.
up when she gets going.
Can we see a couple pages of your book?
Oh, sure. Yeah, she, let's find,
oh, beautiful.
yeah, I had Kathy come here and look at my garden,
Oh,
and
that's
she
pretty.
painted some of those pictures. And then
Wow.
here,
Hmm.
you know, and it's, you know, it's kind of whimsical and it's fun. You know, I'd say it's for kids, but there's a lot of information in
Mhm.
there. Look at this one with the little girl.
Hmm.
She sat, she lost, you know, she lost her butterfly. That was me, really. I lost my butterfly and I didn't know where it was. But see all this whimsy here? It was so fun, and kids need that. And when Monarch, there's a group called Monarch Watch. Chip Taylor's in started Monarch Watch in Kansas. He's well known. And I sent him the book, and he read the story, but I never thought of sending him the pictures. And he told me something about the story. But when I sent him the book, he said, I can't sell that. That's not science, you know, with the whimsy. So he never promoted my book. But Robert Michael Pyle did. So here are the pictures.
Can I have the name of your book one more time?
Oh, sure. Airplanes in the Garden.
Garden, okay, thank
I
you.
wrote it in the chat there too.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you did?
Yes, I did. And I'll
Okay.
have all the extra information online too.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Starting
Airplanes in the Garden.
tomorrow, this recording, which I should